Hey YouTube, we're here with the ASH26 by CMPro. Been making some real progress the last day, and just wanted to, before I get started and forget to mention this, I wanted to show you guys. I just got this package in from Aloft Hobbies there in California. And this was the part I ordered. This is a 5mm for a turbo spinner, 5mm collet. And you'll remember on my, well, I wanted to just give them kudos because they were really good to deal with. And I would definitely do business. They sent me a candy bar too, which is kind of interesting. But yeah, they did a really nice job, guys. And I wanted to give them a shout out. If you're interested in buying gliders, definitely give them a chance at your business. They really took care of me on this. I've never done an order online regarding a radio-controlled airplane product and had them call me and say, hey, you realize the part you ordered is not going to work. And they helped me figure it out, and it worked out nice. And they're good to deal with, and they say what they're going to do, and they do what they say. So what's more to say? Good job, congratulations, Aloft Hobbies, the dealer of the day. Now I can get rid of this, and they ship everything in a box. All the stuff I got my motor, ESC. Well, I didn't get the ESC there; they're out of stock. I got a bunch of other stuff there, and they just did a really good job. Emax servos, Emax motors. Well, anyway, we'll come back to that at another time. But for now, let's take a look at the glue. Let's see if the glue is dry. The canopy glue. Goodness gracious, there's still some white in it. That stuff evidently takes a while to dry. I'm going to just give you guys another quick look at that, mostly because I also want to see it. This canopy looks so good on here. Oh yes, gorgeous. Gorgeous fit. That thing is going to look good in the sky. It's going to look very good. Okay, so now that we've had that on there today, when we're all said and done, which is going to be probably not right away. We're going to wait until we get the motor and other components in, because this little doohickey needs to get mounted in here, and that could get in the way of getting other components in there, so we'll just wait. And also I found this piece that Ian had supplied, which is going to be used to make the nose, the forward bracket. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out. So what we're going to work on today is probably going to go ahead and get the servos in the wings, and we're going to move on from there. So we'll start on that now. Alright, so we can put these items that came from Aloft Hobby. I got 2 of those stickers. And we got this collet, so we'll just put that with our goodies for the Emax stuff. So as you can see, I laid out some extension cords. And these extension cords are going to be plugged into the servos. These are the servos we're going to be using. These are by Emax. They're digital Metal Gear servos. Look at the torque rating at 4.8 volts. 2.4 kilos per centimeter. That's just crazy amount of torque for such a small servo. It's crazy. And these are all, you know, in comparison to pretty much everything else I found, these are way better. Not just a little better, they're way better. So that's pretty cool. I was very fortunate to get connected with that. Okay, so you can see what I've done is I've got quite a bit of excess, which is good because by the time you feed this up to the front of the plane, that's going to be about right. So obviously we have to figure out how we're going to orient these things. So let's look at the diagram on the drawings for the wings. Basically, they're recommending that, okay, so it looks like the wing shoots out this way. So they're recommending that that servo pocket be pointed toward the inside like that. Now, there's this side. Let's look at the two of them together. There's two sides. This one's already been scratched up, so this one looks like it's got a different finish to it altogether. Almost like it's got a covering on it. But then it doesn't appear to actually have a covering on it. Which I still haven't figured out what the deal is with these things. But either way, this one's scraped up already. So I guess it's going to go on this wing. And this one has not been scraped yet. And we'll put it on this wing. Except I'm not 100% sure if it goes. I think it's going to go that way. And then this one actually needs to go that way, so I guess we'll put this over here. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to figure out the best way so the scraped side is already in. And then this one needs to go like this. So that way, no matter which position, no matter which aileron you're looking at, they're going to be laid out exactly the same. Symmetry is important in the wings. It's not absolutely critical, but it helps. It looks better, and yeah. So this way, plus you're in a little bit. If you were doing it right out here, you'd be just grabbing the very tip of the aileron. So you'd rather get in a little bit, get a little bite on that, a little better bite. Okay, so we're going to put out our stuff here in a minute. Let's lay these items out for the moment. And you can see I used white. We used white, black, and red, so the Futaba color code on this servo. And of course I have to cut off the little rib. Well, I wouldn't have to because of my receiver I'm using is open, but if you have instead of an end pin, if you had just the upward facing pins, you'd have to do that to be able to fit in your connector. So here in a minute we'll glue these connectors together and we'll chase those through. Really impressed with these servos though so far. When I pull these things tight, I always hold on here so that you don't yank the wires out of the bottom of the servo, of course. Okay, so this one we're going to have to peel this label off so that, because you don't want to be gluing it with a label in there. And we'll clean that off here in a minute, but I'll stick it on the back side so it's not ambiguous if you'd ever have to replace it. It's always nice to have labels when you're trying to fix things down the road. Hopefully we won't ever have to fix it, but I'm a realist. We'll eventually have to fix something. Just don't know exactly what it's going to be yet. Now, one thing about these lightweight planes is that you want to keep them light when you're done. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use probably some CA to hold these together. And what that means is that if we ever have to work on this, we'll probably have to pull the wire back from the front of the fuse, and then we'll be able to access the plug. And you'll notice I keep my boxes and stuff like this. At the end of the day, I'll have an assembly, a box of some sort that has all the empty packages and stuff. So that's handy. Even though each individual servo should also have labeling. Okay, now we're going to do the same thing we did on the rudder servo. I think I like the idea. I think the way I did it was going to work well, and so we're going to do that again. Yes, we're going to add probably realistically, I would say 3 or 4 grams, maybe. No, I don't even know if it's that much. It's about the same weight of epoxy, hot glue is, but it's not going to be as effective as epoxy. So the trade-off is that when we do have a problem, we can get them apart. So we're going to use the crappy scissors to cut this stuff. 3M tape. Got Got an X-Acto knife here so we can scrape things up. And then we're going to need some alcohol too. Let's put our little bag of goodies out of the way. Actually, we need to mount the ends on there, so we'll just dump these out here. See, we got 2 screws in each of these bags, and those screws are going to be the screws that we use to screw this cover in. Now, we don't know if these are centered yet, so we'll just put these in loosely, just like this. Okay. And then this is going to be just like that. So you can see we'll have to have that centered in the opening. Feels like maybe it's not going to completely and totally fit. We may have to trim off the edge of that a little bit. It's kind of a bummer. Maybe we can bring it forward a little bit in the pocket. Not sure how that's going to work. Okay, so we'll get the CA going on that. Get some kicker. Get some CA. Got a little something to clean up after ourselves. Got the hot glue going. Need a cotton swab and some alcohol. And we need a battery. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to plug in the receiver. And I think at this point we should probably go ahead and chase those wires through. You ever feel like the Steve Martin at the end of Jerk? I need this. I don't need anything, but I need this. That's the way I feel right now. Okay, so we're going to take our CA and we're going to glue these things in. Okay. So the easiest way to do this, first of all, we just want to make sure we're gluing the right surface. Okay, so just pull it apart for a second. Just give it a drip like that. Doesn't need to be anything more excessive than that. Just a little bit of kicker. And you'll be amazed how hard that'll hold in there. And then we'll actually, for a doubly strong measure, we'll do it on the other side too. And yes, you will probably have to take a hot blade to this to cut it if you want to get them apart. Okay? So that's that. Okay, so now the next step, I should probably wipe off the kicker and just make sure it's not going to get stuck on this countertop. Okay, so now the next step is to feed this through. I don't think I'm going to have as good success doing it that way. I'm going to go the other way with it. So I'm going to lift up the wing. Just going to shine a light into the hole so you guys can see. There's a hole. Okay, now you're not going to be able to watch down there while I'm doing this. I'm just kind of spinning it. Okay, so this is, evidently I got a little bend in there. So you gotta try to take that little bend out. Oh, there it is. Okay, cool. So now I'm gonna tape that on there. Just got this little tape dispenser. So now we need to tape on our actual connector. So we'll pull this up, run tape on the bottom, and then just tape it to itself. I do not think I used enough tape, but we'll see. If I don't hit a bunch of stuff, that should be fine. So I think I've hit every rib so far. Haha. Okay, then we're going to feed this in. But we can do that after we get this untaped. You want to try to get this off of here as quick as possible if you're not intending to leave it on there. That'll keep the residue from getting all over everything. Okay. So now the next step is going to be to go ahead and walk this. You just kind of got to push-pull until you get it through to where you want it. Make sure you don't have a bunch of twists in your cables. If you can avoid that, it's always helpful. Just kind of fighting me right now. I'm not sure what aspect of this it's not like, and I'm going to flip the wing upside down. There it goes. It's just catching on the ribs of the wing. Never fails to amaze me how sometimes you'll get it on the first try, and sometimes it take you like 4 or 5 tries to get things through. Okay, so before I can really honestly have a good crack at success, I gotta kind of get the other wing done, and then we gotta center the servos. So, but in the meantime, so I don't have to reinvent the wheel again, I'm gonna just kind of plop a little piece of tape on here. I'm taking this tape, I'm gonna stick it to my jeans or my pants or whatever this, khakis, and then I'm just gonna throw this down just to hold that in position, because I don't want to have to figure out which one's which between the two wings. It's kind of tricky to tell. We can move this out of the way for the exact moment. Turn on the radio, throttle cut, throttle stick. We'll just get that firing up while we're doing this. Okay, so now this one we've got to do the same thing too. We got to glue it. Make sure your black is lined up with your brown in this case. Okay, clogged. I'll be right back. Okay, so I unclogged that. Now we're just going to bridge a little bit of glue over there. Give it just a spritz of kicker. We're going to flip this over the other side. Now the one thing that's really kind of gut-wrenching on this is that once you get this in the wing, it's going to be impossible to see. Okay, so now we can just dry off the excess kicker. Everything's solid. Now we're going to wipe the tip and cap our CA. We won't need that for a little bit, so we can put that out of the way. Okay, so now what we need to do next is we need to I don't want to wonder about where this one goes either, because this is the one that's already cut up on the bottom. So I'm going to just stick this right here, so there's no ambiguity whatsoever. There's just a little easier for me to reach up here because it's a high countertop. I should probably hold this up to a light and just double check it's clear, which I'll give you guys a shot of it. There you go. So you can definitely see it's clear. Well, that went smoother than the other one. Now, guys, I gotta admit, my biggest disappointment on this plane is the fact that I don't have flaps. And before I hear any explanation that I don't need flaps, I can tractor the motor, I don't care. I want the flaps. Flaps are cool. Flaps are fun. I like air brakes. I like flaps. That's one of my things. That's what I do. So, at some point, someday down the road, I'll probably add flaps if this thing is awesome as I think it's going to be. But I'm going to have to do it right. I'm going to have to actually do a proper job of it and not just halfway like I do some of my foamies. So, anyway, depending on how this thing works, you can possibly look forward to that. I suspect it's going to work very good, and it's going to be a very good plane. Now, if you can't fit your wire through a hole like this, there's another trick you can do. And what it is to basically take the end of the connector off, which is super easy. You just release the 3 pins. See, I'm just twisting this to make it pass through those little contours in the wing. Okay. So let's get rid of this thing. It's in the way now. Okay, so this is just a piece of, I think it's a 12 amp. I think it would have come out of a 12 amp Romax. Just a little extra piece that was left over. Ground wire. And I took in the drill check, held it between a couple pieces of wood, held tight, then ran the drill and it twists it. You just kind of, you don't twist it totally, you just keep a little pressure on it, and that forces it to straighten out. Works really nice. If you ever have a chance to try it. So I'm just looking through to see what the heck it is I'm hitting. What's happened is the connector is turned vertical. So if I can twist it, then it'll go away. It'll go through without any problems. And it'll go, it's just going to be a pain in the butt. There it goes, finally. There it goes. Alright guys, got it. Okay. So now this one, same scenario. We need to get our control arm out. And you see there's little black screws. There's a variety of different types of ends you can put on there. In our case, we're looking at using just the one-sided arm like this, and then these black screws are what go through there, and they're also what go through those little vertical adapters if you're using them. I'm not. Okay, now we don't know if this is centered, so this is just guesswork right now. So we'll just put it in here vertical. Just slip it over the gear. And then we'll just a little temporarily put it in here. Now I realize that, you know, this thing could center and it could go into a weird position. So I just need to be, I'm prepared to deal with the consequences of that, because I truly believe it's not going to be an issue. Okay, throttle cut's on. Throttle's not working. Let's check. We got to go to the monitor. See how the throttle's not moving up there? Okay, throttle cut is on. Also, if you're in the home screen there, you can see the 2. That shows the position, the absolute position of the stick. But this is the throttle output. Okay, so we know that that's working. Go ahead and plug in the battery. Why is that critical, you say? Because I have my prop on here. Okay, so everything's started up, so now we can bring these wings over into a situation where we can go ahead and start working on plugging them in. I'd actually rather bring this over here, because I like working up higher. It's easier on my back. Okay, so this is going to be the That would be the right wing. And so I guess I'll just plug it into the aileron. Okay, and then this is the left wing. So this is going to be a flaperon configuration. So we don't want to go in elevator, rudder gear. We'll go auxiliary 1. Okay. And our stabilizer's not on or anything yet. So let's see what happens. Okay, so it looks like they're going the they're moving. That's all I care about. Okay. So the other thing too is, I guess I want to have the settings correct on the receiver. So I'm going to turn on flaperons. And flaperon support is now on. I don't think I have flap system turned on, or I don't have it doing anything. So I'm just going to go like 50% up, 50% down. Okay. Okay, so everything seems to be working the right way. So now when we put this, you know what, I'm sorry, I got to do this flap system a little bit different today. We'll do this position at 50. We'll do this at 0, just so that we're in the centered position. Okay, so the next step is going to be to get these mounted. This one's already got some scuff marks on it, so I'm just going to do that a little bit more myself, so I'm totally comfortable with it. Okay, so we know where the servo is going to sit, so we can just take and make some grooves. One thing about doing these things, if you get too egregious, too deep, you'll weaken the material. Just don't get too crazy on it. But it's kind of like you have a whole lot less to lose by going a little bit too deep on there than you do to gain by not going deep enough. Okay, we're going to go at 45 of each other. And we'll go vertical. We're going to go horizontal, or whichever way, vice versa. Then we're going to take and cut a piece with our crappy scissors, because we don't got 3M stuff all over everything. And then we'll do some alcohol quick. Let that stuff dry, and then we'll go ahead and put down the tape. I mean, all these little steps, that's not, I can't sit and say that there's like tons of things that are really, really, really hard about these, but just more a matter of you're not used to it. You're used to just having all this stuff done for you when you get a plug and fly or bind and fly. It's weird because you can really get in there and do it the way you want, but I just want it to be done. I don't really care. I want it to be done. I want it to work. So it's a double-edged sword. If you want it to work, sometimes you got to do it yourself so you know it's done right. Okay, so same situation as last time. You want to make sure you trim this to the right size so that you don't compromise your ability to put some sort of other adhesive around the edge. In our case, we're going to be using hot glue just because I don't want to have issues with having trouble getting these off later if we ever do have to get them off. Okay, so we'll go ahead and apply this down. Need to come over just a hair. Okay, very good. So we got that plopped on there. And guys, I'm just noticing we're about out of time on this video. So I'm going to probably go ahead and call it quits for now. And we'll pick it up right away. Again, this is the ASH26. Looking at the ailerons today, the Aileron Servos. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.